What is going on here? I don't know what is going on with this one. Solo layout. All right. I'm hoping that hopefully we're not having technical difficulties here, because I can't even see myself on Instagram. Hold on. I don't know if you could see me on Facebook and YouTube. I do apologize. I thought this was all worked out perfectly fine, but it's hard to tell. I don't even know if you guys can see me. I might have to re-exit YouTube. Add to stream. Why can I not add to stream? Remove from stream. So I don't even know if you guys can see me on I guess I could probably look, huh? I can't, because I got Instagram over here. So let me look here. Sorry for the delay. I'm trying to figure this out. Give me 1 second, people. I just want to make sure the video is up on Facebook. Let's see if we are live on here. It is broadcasting, but it's just showing my screen, so I don't know what is going on. Oh, isn't that? I don't see anybody live anyway, so I think we're okay right now. Let me see here. Maybe it's the background. That could be what the problem is. Oh, there we are. Technical difficulties. Only 3 minutes we wasted. What's going on, peoples? Nonetheless, I think we're better now. It took a hot second. Nonetheless, we are on. We got YouTube, Facebook going on, and we got Instagram going on. I don't know if you guys could hear me before. The mic looks like we're on. It looks like everything is ready to rock. Welcome, everybody, to Ignite Thursday. Yes, I am back on YouTube and Facebook for tonight. I am probably actually going to be doing this more often, because I do like YouTube ultimately. And Facebook is something new. Instagram, I've been doing Instagram for the past couple of weeks. So figure, well, it's ringing in the new year, so we would go ahead and just come on here and start it going. So nonetheless, this is a special New Year's edition. Again, I don't have anything fancy on. I don't have party gear on. That's not really the way I rock. I try to keep it simple and just come on here and relax and just hang out with you guys, really, pretty much. That's what I wanted to do tonight. I do have some things I want to kind of reflect on over the past year. It's been a rough year for everybody. I know everybody's kind of taking this year quite differently. Everybody has their own different flavor this year. It's been a little rough, to say the least, but I think there's still some good things that came out of this year. Being said, I think it was definitely a year for learning. Nonetheless, I think we've all learned a lot, continue to learn a lot. We're learning a lot about ourselves and being locked away, and doing some of that internal work I talk about all the time, because internal work is important, and especially now, if you can definitely get on it and allow yourself to do that and take advantage of the time when we're not typically have the time to be by ourselves. It kind of forces us into that kind of realm, right? To where you got to, sorry, let me look here. It forces it into having to, spend that time with ourselves. And sometimes that's not the easiest thing to do. And so this is why we can be going crazy at times, but ultimately we need to realize that I think it's a good eye opener for a lot of different things. And we're getting a lot of perspective this past year. I can definitely say that. Even though we are getting perspective, there are a lot of new things that we are learning about this year. A lot of just the way everything has been. It has been a rough year for everybody. I understand that. Again, some people have taken it harder than other people. So nonetheless, we are coming into a new year, and that's what's important. What is going on, Lily? So we do have one on Instagram. I got Happy New Year to you as well. Having some technical difficulty and on YouTube and on Facebook. So we're rocking all three of the joints today. Let's do a little reflection on what's been going on over the past year. It's been a rough year, like I said, but some positive things, right? It's always good to try to find some good aspects of what's been going on through the year. If you've been, really relying on some people that you've supported to help support you, and now is like over the past couple months, almost a year now, but is your support system, right? Is really checking your support system and seeing where it was at this past year. But I know even for myself, reflecting back on 2020, I rekindled a lot of relationships. I know there's a lot of wisdom dropping, especially the technical difficulties I had for like 4 minutes, but nonetheless, they'll come. I'll lay the wisdom and they'll come. Watch. With that being said, so friends and relationships, ultimately, I rekindled a lot of good relationships that I've had over the past couple of years. I've done some of that. I've made some new relationships this year, which are fantastic. And actually, I've gone on a bunch of different lives, which is something I haven't really done. I know I briefly did it on Instagram for a little bit, but I started doing lives this year and stuff. And just doing that and be exposed to that is really made this year a good year, even though with all the garbage that's been going on. I try to be positive about everything that's going on. This is, again, why I unplug from a lot of the stuff, because it's not... there's a lot of bad news out there. So I try to, again, reflect on the good things. And like I said, I think the biggest thing out of this year was just was going live. And that was, I know for a lot of people that was scary, even for me, going on YouTube, even though I came from Instagram. I did do some I experimented on Instagram for a little while, but nonetheless, it was a new experience. And it was, I know I talked about fear just about last week about fear, and coming on YouTube and stuff was a little rough initially. I wasn't really, I had some jitters. I ain't gonna lie. I can't lie. I had jitters. There was fear there, but ultimately I think what helps, especially for like introverts, ultimately, is if you can like prepare yourself, right? Like I prep myself, and I think preparation, I talk about preparation being a big thing that can really help you, especially if you're introverts. So like before I even went on live, like I'd prepare myself, and I wouldn't like jot down, I'd have bullet points, but I'd kind of just let my mind go, kind of like warming up the engine, which I think really helps. But nonetheless, I did live this year too, which was awesome. And I came back to Discover Ignite, which is something actually I took a brief hiatus from Discover Ignite. It's not saying I stopped my entrepreneurial endeavors. I was looking at other things. I was looking in the stock market, investing, and doing a lot of stuff with that. And so I wanted to focus on that. So that's why I stepped away from Discover Ignite. The beginning of the year was even actually into last year as well. But but I was still helping out people, anybody that would come on YouTube or anything. I was still always try to help them and benefit them if I could. So I'd always come on and answer comments, or if there's any emails or anything like that. Ultimately, so I was still monitoring that situation, and I still go on Reddit, and I know I started a Reddit series too and answering questions on there, but ultimately, so I was still always trying to help people out, but I did it from afar. And then once I realized what the whole pandemic was going on and stuff, I kind of just jumped into it, because I saw people, not only was there were a lot of people coming to my channel, but a lot of people were really struggling. And I think, I want to say I came back and like, maybe it was the beginning of the pandemic. I don't remember. It was roughly around there. But coming into there, I came back to Discover Ignite, and I started slowly like adding videos, preloading videos onto there. And in doing so, it is, I think I felt like I've always been able to help people. I mean, I've always really enjoyed it. I think you get the most value out of life when you're not really looking about what you can get out of life, but how you can help somebody else, and sharing those experiences. And I myself, like I said, I went over, I talked about this a couple, I want to say 2 ignites ago. That's pretty good, huh? I just came out from left field, but I know Lily's laughing. She likes that one. But nonetheless, 2 ignites ago, I talked about my friend. I think it was towards the end of one of those videos, but I talked about how I helped my friend back in high school. And that actually really got me to thinking into helping people, and being a psychologist. And so nonetheless, long story short, come back to the pandemic. So I saw a lot of people really asking a lot of questions, a lot of people needing help. And so that's why I came back to Discover Ignite and started doing the videos. I slowly started uploading videos, and then and seeing the traction and seeing that people, were really needing help. See, I knew you would like that one. But nonetheless, like I wanted to come back and help people out the best that I could. And again, seeing that traction, it looked like a lot of people needed help. And a lot of times I look outward, I don't really look inward. I try to help as many people as I can. And so that's why it kind of just led me. I was doing the videos and I felt like I wasn't getting, I still see your comment, Lily, so it's making me laugh every time I see it. I got to quit looking at it. But nonetheless, so I was doing the preloaded videos, and I was noticing a lot of people were, again, it was getting a lot of traction there. And so I was trying to look at something else that would help people. And so I focused on the pillars, and that's where I kind of started the underdog experiment. And I started going that. That's when I believe that's when I started going live, which was more recently. And when I started going live, I try to provide pillars of perspective is what I'm calling it now. I started with that, and I came on and I started building out that underdog experiment. And then, going through that whole process, and I've kind of talked about this almost on every Ignite Thursday, but I was building out that whole process, trying to refine it. And then it was like, wait a minute, I got to go back to the mindset, right? Like the mindset is where it all starts and ends, right? So in building that out, because if you don't have the mindset, you can come on here and listen all day and you won't take the action you need to, and then it really, I've had good friends, right? And they struggle with making change in their life. And so for me, that's where it like really hits home, because like, you can give advice and people won't take the action, right? They'll sit there and, whether you want to call it victim role, whatever, I'm not trying to blame and call you a victim. I mean, I understand, I realize there's a lot going on, and sometimes it's emotionally hard to handle that stuff. And so in going through the underdog experiment, I really wanted to like dive deep in like, how can I help people? I mean, I've always read books on psychology. I've always read books about how the brain works. I've read books on body language. That's where all the pillars come from. And I really try to really dissect the brain essentially. And again, the psychology of people. And that led me into learning about sales as well, because that's all psychology as well. And I tell people about, you should look into reading about sales, just not that you have to sell anything, but you have to ultimately understand that, yes, you are still selling yourself, right? And so in saying that, in dissecting and getting all the information for the brain, I wanted to come on and try to find that way, what's going to help you ignite, essentially changing your life. And again, seeing close friends of mine struggle with this, and it's hard. And so for me, it's like, okay, well, I don't like to, coming from the military, right? Like, you have battle buddies, and I consider everybody on here, all my igniters, battle buddies, right? Like, if you want to, you're all my battle buddies, and I don't want to see you go down. So ultimately, if somebody's hurting or anything like that, I want to try to help them the best that I can. And so that's why I started doing the underdog experiment. Again, realizing that I had to take it off those pillars, because although those pillars can help you change your life, again, if you don't start from the mindset, you're not going to be able to do that. You have to realize that you can change and get away from that whole, fixed versus growth mindset stuff, and realize that it's possible. And then how do you do that? How do you get someone to change their mind, to want to change, and realize that, if you're dealing with hardships in your life, that you can't change, and realize that the moment right now, like, you can change it right now. You change your life at any time. And I've done this throughout my life. So I've essentially lived this whole theme I talk about, discover ignites, right? Ignite change. I've ignited many changes throughout my life. Maybe not some as crazy as Lily. Lily's she's gotten some very good changes in her life. Changes as far as like big changes, like changing her scene and going around the world, stuff like that, which is something I've always wanted to do. I've traveled the world and seen the world in my younger years, and eventually we'll get back to that point. But now, I mean, I have other responsibilities, not to saying that it's not something I would want to do, because if I had that opportunity, I definitely would. But nonetheless, bringing it back to Discover Ignites. And so I want to help people ignite change in their lives. And again, I've ignited a lot of change in my life. No, you're not crazy at all, Lily. Stop. I think it's cool. Nonetheless, so I've ignited big changes in my life, right? Like I talked about where I came, I think coming out of high school, I really didn't know. I did the college thing like everybody else. Yes, definitely. So I came out of high school, I wanted to do psychology, then it was programming, then I did some crazy. Lily wants to talk about some crazy stuff. At a young age, straight out of high school, I went off to Australia and was going to try to live in Australia for Melbourne, Australia for 3 months. That obviously didn't pan out, and I was back in the United States. But it was different, right? I tried to ignite change back then, and that was a whole other story. And man, I tell you what, love makes you do crazy things. I tell you what, sometimes, but but nonetheless, that's not what we're talking about here. Nonetheless, I came back. Life wasn't. I tried to make change. It just wasn't going to happen, right? And so I lived in California. Stuff wasn't the greatest, right? Like I couldn't get ahead, and I didn't like it. And so I moved to my father's up in New York. So I went from the West Coast to the East Coast, making some dramatic shifts. And then, this is where I talk about the factory I worked at and stuff. And I remember it wasn't even after the first day cutting cardboard for truck installation. I was like, man, I am not spending the rest of my life doing this. And, but I didn't have any leverage. I didn't have a college degree. I didn't know anything about entrepreneurship. I didn't know anything. So I was like, well, what other options do I have? And before I was going to go in the military. And so, in saying that, this is like right when 9/11 hit. This was literally months right after it hit. So I was like, I don't want to go in and then have to go out to the front lines and stuff like that. Like my initial plan was to go until after 9/11. Then I was like, no, I'm going to wait for a little while, and then until things calm down. And then my options were really limited. So I was like, well, I might as well go. And that's exactly what I did. I went in, I was told, I being the crazy one, Lily wants to talk about being crazy. I'll be in the crazy one. I wanted to be a sniper in the Marine Corps. Talk about being crazy. And I was motivated back then too. I was just about as motivated as I was now to do something that really intrigued me, and it's something I was curious about. That obviously didn't pan out. I had many many other figures in my life that told me that I should not do that. That I should go for the corporate branch, which was the Air Force, and that's what I did for 8 years. And then that long journey there, traveled the world there. And then it came out, and before I got out, I went back to college. I knew that telecommunications wasn't the job, and that was another big change. So not only did I get out of the military, so you're going from a structured, essentially a structured environment into, you know, a free-for-all, essentially, right? And so that was a major change. And it was a big adjustment because, you know, you go from a place where everybody's looking out for each other to you're essentially on your own. And then going from that into got my 4-year degree in computer science. And then I was like, okay, well, now I want to transition from a 12-year, you know, telecommunications job to computer science, right? And I was lucky enough to get my foot in the door and able to do that. And it was actually funny. Now, talk about igniting change, right? I'm coming from a 12-year career in telecommunications where I'm essentially hitting the glass ceiling. Although I did land a job that was more permanent, which was hard to find in telecommunications. All my jobs were essentially temporary out of the military till this point. And then I finally found a stable, right? Stable, and talk about all those other different things. But I essentially found the stable path, the last job I had in telecommunications, and I had just started it. And then I had just got a call saying, hey, you want to be a programmer? Well, we got a 1-month temporary job, but if you want your foot in the door, so do I give up this 12-year career at this job that looks solid for 5 years, which I haven't had a solid contract for 5 years, or do I, you know, go into this new career field that I want to get into, right? That the glass ceiling is actually much, much higher than what it was, right? And so, man, talk about like fear. Like I was scared to leave on that, but I knew it was for the better. If I could just get my foot in the door, 1 month, try to get the experience and then go in. And I did, I leaped, and it was scary. I'm not gonna lie. It was scary coming off a 12-year degree, and talk about imposter syndrome, right? Like I completely had imposter syndrome coming from, you know, a physical labor job coming into a white collar job. It was definitely a different environment. Like I didn't know what to do. I went from standing up and working my butt off all day to sitting in a cubicle all day, and using my brain, and it was very different. And then nonetheless, the thing is that was nice about it, and this is why I talk about perspective all the time too, is my perspective. It really showed me that, you know, it's not good to be so one-dimensional, because when I came into programming, a lot of people were very one-dimensional, very deep in one subject. And me coming from another thing, right? Like I had, even though when I first came on live and stuff, I was very like structured and everything. Like I was still pretty talkative. When it came to like work and stuff, I was still pretty chatty, if you will. I consider myself chatty now. I don't ever believe I was chatty before, but when I get on like topics that like, or if I get comfortable, I start getting chatty, which I guess I could start saying I'm getting pretty chatty here on the live because I'm getting pretty comfortable. Again, comfort zone, expanding the comfort zone. That's another important one message. But nonetheless, and so coming into that field, like I really realized that the perspective, right, is having that additional perspective. And I had the soft skills because I led big teams in the military and in telecommunications, right? Like when I first got out of the military, I was leading like a team of 50 people. And so I was in a leadership role then. I was in leadership role at a really young age when I was in the military. I went to leadership school and all that stuff in my mid-20s. And so nonetheless, like, so I'm familiar with the leadership role. And then coming into, it was funny because when I came into programming, like, I was expecting people to put me at that like entry-level tier. And I got there and like, you know, when you come from another career field, it's funny because it's like, I've had a lot of leadership roles, and then you come in and you're kind of grouped in with the entry level people, and it doesn't bother me, right? Like I'll just work. That's the way I always am. My work ethic, if I could talk, has always been good. So I'll be like, okay, that's fine. I'll just work my way back up, essentially, right? Not to say that I didn't position myself in a way that I still held, essentially established my ground, right? Like I wasn't just going to, I talked my way in. Okay, I sweet talked is pretty much what I did to the position to get higher pay, right? Because I didn't want to take a step back. But nonetheless, transition, it helped. That perspective coming from that other career field really helped me. It actually helped me excel and propel my career in programming, so much so that, I've made some big step promotions essentially in the career that I've been in. Again, not try to come on here and throw out my meat wall, because that's not at all what I'm trying to do here. But just trying to show you that I've been through a lot of changes, in that it can be fearful, right? And even still now, right? Like I feel like I've hit a glass ceiling, and I'm trying to push it even more. And I feel like every time I hit the glass ceiling, I want to see what more is out there. And always reaching your full potential, right, is ultimately what I'm trying to do. And so in doing that, I have the track record, right? And so leading all this long story, it has been a long story, but nonetheless, leading this long story, coming into the underdog experiment and trying to help people, I want them to see, and I guess sharing my story could help with that, right? Like I've seen the change. I know what it takes to make the change, to ignite the change in your life. And it takes going and getting out of that fearful zone, right? Like I think the biggest transition was coming off that 12-year career into another career field. Like the imposter syndrome was unbelievable. Like I've never felt it that much until then. And so trying to ignite any kind of change, you're going to feel imposter syndrome, but you have to realize that, this is completely normal. You're going to have to take the leap. It's going to take a while, but when it becomes the norm, then you become comfortable, and then you can come on live and just chat with people. Well, like it's the cool thing. The cool kids do it. Because I know Lily's a cool kid and she does it all the time. But nonetheless, so that being said, this past year, I've did the underdog experiments. I started underdog experiment. I started working on the mindset. I started writing a book. I got like 5,000 words on a book, and I was like, this isn't typical. I'm not a writer. That is definitely not me. I like doing video. I've noticed that I'm definitely not a writer. And so I have written a lot for the book, and I was like, well, I'm just going to make this a course. So I started building out the course. The course is pretty close to completion. I can't give an exact date when it's going to be out, but I'll definitely let you guys know on that, and that this course is going to help ignite the change that I've lived through, and the stuff that I've helped optimize me to do that. And so coming over this past year, I've been building that system out, and to try to help people the best, right? Re-engineering what I went through over all these years, because it goes even way more than that. I mean, you can go all the way back to my childhood when I was, the chunky kid trying to overcome all those obstacles, and how I continue to battle weight through my adult years as well, and going through changes and trying to be Mr. Olympia and trying to be all these other things, right? Like I've tried to press the limits of what is possible. And if I don't enjoy it, then I just quit, right? But I want to at least experience it and give it time, right? It's the biggest thing, is giving it time. And so building out this whole thing this year. So coming to this whole thing, building out this year, right? I've done a lot, right? I've also started a podcast this year, which is cool. And I started a podcast with my buddy as well, Sean. So I'm running 2 podcasts. I'm running Discover Ignite. I've actually started another channel on YouTube, which I haven't told a lot of people about, except some of my close friends. But I've also started a stock market channel as well, but I'm kind of keep that small. So I've always been about refining, right? It's just getting it started. I've done YouTube long enough to know how to do it. So now I've refined the system so much so that I'm able to start another channel and kind of limit it and block my time and manage my time. So I'm not just coming on here saying, hey, look, I read about how to do time management. You should do these things. It's like, no, this is stuff I've done to help my process, refine my process to help you do that ultimately and improve your life and your process and get that Ignite mindset. So again, I did the podcast. I've done all these things this year, but ultimately, again, even though I've done all these things, it's about helping you guys and trying to do the best I can for you guys, provide you guys as much value. So that means I got to be on top of everything. I've got to excel as much as possible. I've got to be able to do that so I can provide you guys the tools and stuff that you need, the help that you need to make that change. And so it ultimately goes back to having this community of people, having awesome, great people that help and support me in every way. I really appreciate that. I wanted to come on here and really just tell you guys, I really appreciate each and every one of you. I know the YouTube channel is almost up to 600. Yeah, 600 last I saw. Yeah, we're at 599. We only need one more. So hopefully those people watching, if you're watching this, get one more on there. But so again, thank all you guys. I do appreciate you guys for the love and the support. So in saying that, going into the new year, we all want 2020 to be behind us. And I think the biggest lesson we can take out of this is something that I talk about all the time about getting rid of your past, right? The past does not define you. And this year is definitely one of those years that you can be like, you know what? That last year really sucked. And that doesn't define the rest of your life, does it? 2020 is not going to define the rest of your life. Yeah, maybe it have some implications on whatever. There might be some things that happen, residual waste, right? Essentially from 2020, but that's not going to dictate the rest of your life, right? You're going to continue to live the rest of your life. And so I think that's one of the biggest lessons you could take out of 2020 is that not to hold on to your past, but to realize that from this point forward, you are in creation of your future and to start making that change now and not allowing the past, even though it may be a setback like this past year has been, you can definitely make the change and do it now, right? I'm not one to believe in resolutions. I've always believed that if you want to make the change, you do it now. Okay, I may give myself a day or two, just to try to mentally prep, but I mean, it's essentially that way, right? I've always been that way. If you're going to make the change, do it now. And that being said, this year's the way to do it. And to do this, I wanted to, in projecting into 2021, I wanted to kind of go over some goals. And because one of the goals is I wanted to be more on here and involved with you guys. I know I've been doing the lives. I've only been doing them on Thursdays, going live more often. I know for the Underdog Experiment, that was going live twice a week. I might bring that up. That's something that I could talk about as well. But ultimately, I'm going to start trying to incorporate some new things. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, I highly suggest you want to do that. I am starting to do virtual races on there. I think that would be something that would be cool that we can do as a community and start running together, getting active, right? Maybe you don't have to run, but a lot of the virtual races, I mean, you can walk this too, right? You don't have to run. So it's not just limited to those runners, right? But it's just trying to ignite change and start realizing that it all starts with the choice that you make. You start making that one choice and building confidence in that one choice you make every day. Those add up, those compound into bigger, better changes in your life. And being said, I wanted to try to get this community closely knitted together. So if you guys want to follow me on Instagram, I do post stuff on the story in there, and I'm starting the virtual races on there. And so I will post it on there if you guys want to do that with me. I think that would be a great way. That way we can all build as a community and move forward, right? Not just saying, hey, look at me, look what I'm doing. Let's do it all together, right? I think that's the best way to do it is if we can have a little bit of competition, right? Friendly competition is always great. I always love. I can't leave my battle buddies behind, right? We got to get this thing going. all my igniters behind. We gotta get rolling, and we gotta make some changes in our life, and especially now with what's been happening. I think it's better now than ever. And rolling out this week, or rolling out 2021. I got the course coming out pretty soon. The book will be followed after. So those are two things I want to get done this year. Those are some of my goals I want to get done this year. Also, I talked about the virtual racing thing. That's something I want to do. If there's anything else, I'm probably trying to think of some other creative ideas. This is what I talk about, a think tank. That stillness is to get more people involved in stuff. So if I come up with anything else, sorry, I'm talking so much faster than what I'm thinking, or so much slower than what I'm thinking. Exactly. But nonetheless, so if I come up with anything else that's like the virtual racing and stuff like that we can all kind of do as a community. Again, I'm not sponsored or anything by this thing, so it's just 100%, hey, I'm doing this. Do you guys want to do it with me? You can do it from around the world. That's the nice thing about being virtual, right? So we might as well take advantage of that. So if there's anything else virtual we can do, I might do some lives and have some people come on, right? If you want to talk about stuff, Q&A and stuff, I want to do more of that. Although it's the power of one doesn't really work that way. So as a community, if you guys want to come on more and do that, I would love to do that more. Also this year, I'm hoping to hit 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. That is another one of my goals this year. I don't try to provide too many goals for the year, only because I very much try to listen to that intuition. And so a lot of times you just can't project that stuff. A lot of times it's just learning, stillness, and following your instinct. And so ultimately, if it comes up and I get an epiphany, I'll let you guys know, most definitely. So with that being said, that's essentially what I got for the year and for the projected year. I hope you guys, for this next coming year, I'm here to help you guys out. You can always email me at marcus.hemela@discoverignite.com. Yes, I have an official Discover Ignite email now. If you haven't noticed, it's pretty spiffy, I'm just saying. So if you want to hit me up on that, just to get some feedback, right? I also do provide coaching, personal coaching, if you want to do that. I do video request as well. That is also, I have that also in the description below, because this live will also upload it to YouTube. So if you want to check this one back out, you can always come back out to YouTube and see that. Anything else this year? I think that is pretty much all I got. This is actually what I projected. And I'm excited to see where the podcast goes as well. That's something new I'm doing. Streamline that process. It's pretty, I know, right? It's official. It is official. I have actually really made it official, because it is actually, I actually made it an LLC now as well. So it is pretty official. It's official in the state's eyes, I can tell you that. But nonetheless, yeah, so again, you go and all reach me. Again, I don't have anybody live on YouTube. Lily, I think you're the only co-captain here. But if you have any questions, Lily. Otherwise, I think that's pretty much it. I hope you guys actually have a fantastic 2021. And again, you're not alone. That's what I'm here for. Discover Ignites. It's Ignite Some Change. And look for that course. Look for that book this year. I'll be spreading it like pandemic, if it's too early to make that joke. We got to laugh. We got to laugh about it. If you can't laugh with it, right? You're gonna cry about it, and we don't want to cry. We want to make some change here. So nonetheless, I appreciate each and every one of you. Again, I hope you guys are safe tonight. I hope you guys have a fantastic 2021. I will be around. You will be around. Let's get through this. We got this. And until next time, everybody, I will see you guys later. Thanks, Lily. Appreciate you. Have a great 2021. And goodbye to 2020, everybody. The P word. Oh, I forgot something. Oh, okay. I got you. A little slow. Blonde moment. Got it. Okay. Adios. Appreciate you, Lily. Have a great one. Bye, everybody.